Hey, what's up, guys? We're doing another video today. This video is going to be my top 10 movies of 2021. We're going to have some honorable mentions. We're also going to have a list of movies that I saw that unfortunately were horrible. And I think, I should advise people about those movies before they have to experience them the way I did. So I'm going to do, from 10 to 1 and stuff like that. So, first movie in my list is Godzilla versus Kong. I thought the movie, had its flaws, but the movie knew what it was the entire time. It was just like a entertainment thrill ride. I wasn't a huge fan of the first Godzilla movie. I liked the King of Monsters. I thought it was a step in the right direction. And then Kong Skull Island, I thought was awesome. I loved it. I still think for me that's the best movie out of that whole monster verse or whatever the case is. So yeah, I thought it was good. There was some leaps in logic that I was just like, what the hell is going on? But you kind of gotta spend a ton of disbelief and just enjoy the movie for what it is. A big bunch of monsters beating each other up for reasons. But so yeah, that's my number 10, Godzilla versus Kong. Number 9 is Black Widow. And this is going to be the first MCU movie on my list. And I thought it was decent. Unfortunately, we were waiting for this movie a long time. Finally, it was greenlit, and when it was going to get released, COVID happened, so we had to wait. Finally, it came out, and I thought it was a good movie. Not bad by any stretch, not amazing by any stretch. I just thought it was right in the middle tier of the MCU movies, which is unfortunate because I thought the movie should have been a lot better because it's Black Widow. She's one of the core Avengers, and it's Scarlett Johansson, and she's great. But you could tell there wasn't much there in the script. We did get her sister, Yelena, played by Florence Pugh, which is awesome. I think she's great. So, we got that. Taskmaster was the villain, or one of the villains. I thought, he or she sucked. And the big baddie, which was like the Russian mob guy, whatever the case is, I thought he sucked too. So yeah, that's my number 9. I know it seems like I'm ragging on it, but it was a good movie. I just think it was decent at best. But if I had to compare it to the rest of the movies I saw, it was definitely in the number 9 slot. So the next movie I'd say was Free Guy. Free Guy was a movie that I did not want to watch. Saw the trailers and I was just like, it's not for me. I don't really want to see a guy in a video game, blah, blah, blah. And kind of, right now, Ryan Reynolds, I needed a break from him. And I happened to be in, I think it was like, I was in Disney World or something like that, or Universal, I don't know. I was in one of those theme parks in Florida. And we had some time to kill. And I was like, hey, let's just go see, let's go to the movies, And they had Free Guy. We saw it. And it was a pleasant surprise. Very predictable story-wise for me. I kind of called things out literally like 5 to 10 minutes into the movie. But it was still very charming, very heartwarming. The movie had more depth than it should have, or that, most movies like that would want to put into it. But it was charming. And I'm actually looking forward to the sequel, especially now that Disney kind of owns that whole property. They'll be able to play more with the cameos and the Easter eggs and things like that. So that'll be fun. So that's my number 8, Free Guy. Number 7 is The Suicide Squad, directed by James Gunn. This movie, I think, is probably the most underrated movie in my top 10. I had a blast. Saw it twice. Didn't go see it in theaters, unfortunately, because, COVID. I wanted to, so I saw it twice at home. And it was amazing. Like, the entire family loved it. My kids loved it. My girlfriend loved it. I loved it. I thought it was great. The way James Gunn mixed, the violence, the emotional moments, the story, the underlining messages, I thought was great. Just some of those quiet moments that you see in the film, like when King Shark is just, looking at the couple like having dinner or something like that, and he just looks and kind of realizes that he won't be able to have that, because he's not the smartest person in the world, but he's able to understand that he can't have that because of how he looks and things like that. And then the relationship with Rat King and Rat King 2, the father daughter dynamic I thought was great. Peacemaker was out of his damn mind. And again, it shows why James Gunn is one of the wonkiest, most brilliant directors that we have. So, huge fan of the Suicide Squad. So, if you haven't seen it, please do watch it. And it's on HBO Max, I think. I'm not sure if they took it off, but if it's still there, go watch it. That's my number 7, The Suicide Squad. Number 6 is Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Now, like I said, this is my second Marvel movie in my top 10. The first one was Black Widow at number 9. And, I think Black Widow came out first, right? Yeah, I think Black Widow came out first on Disney, on theaters, and then Shang-Chi came out. And when I saw Shang-Chi, that's when I was like, yeah, the MCU's back. Movies are back and stuff like that. And unfortunately, I didn't feel that with Black Widow. But watching this movie, I was like, yes. Like, it was so good. It was so good. Just the characters, were awesome. The relationship between Shang-Chi and I forgot the character's name, the person who's played by Aquafina. Just having that male-female relationship that is, platonic, and it's not romantic, and it's just, two people that care about each other and they're friends. That's something that we haven't seen yet in the MCU, and at least that I could think of off the top of my head, and it was so refreshing to have that. And, just the writing, the amount of kind of love that they put into the lore, into the culture of these characters and their backgrounds, I thought was awesome. The action was unrelenting. Some of the best hand-to-hand choreographed fighting that I've seen since The Raid. That bus sequence is some of the best fighting I've ever seen, on the silver screen. And that's saying a lot. And then Shang-Chi's father, I forgot his name, it was amazing. The way they were able to kind of rectify the whole thing with the Ten Rings and the Mandarin and all that from Iron Man 3, I thought was great. I didn't really have an issue with it, but I know the greater fandom did. So it was nice that they were able to kind of tie everything in a nice bow and have it all make sense. Shang-Chi I thought was great. That's my number 6. Now my number 5 is Zack Snyder's Justice League. That's the name of the movie, because they have Justice League and then they have Zack Snyder's Justice League, which was the 4-hour epic that Zack Snyder was, luckily able to do for the fans and for himself. And it didn't get a theatrical release, which, I still included it because I'm sure if COVID wasn't going on, they would have at least had a limited run in the theater. And some of these movies that are on my list, I didn't even get to see in the theater. I saw it at home because of COVID, so I'm gonna throw this one in my list. So I hope that's okay for the audience. But Zack Snyder's Justice League, I thought was awesome. All the issues I had with the original Justice League were completely erased. Some people might not like the tone of Zack Snyder's universe, but ultimately I'm okay with it. It's just a darker, greedier version of what we're accustomed to in the animated and the comic books and other film franchises of the same properties. But I was okay with it. I had an issue with the tone shifts when with the original version because Joss Whedon came and reshot a bunch of stuff and just made it not feel like what that universe was. Being able to see Zack Snyder keep the same tone and flesh out a lot of the plot points and story beats that he wanted to flesh out, was amazing. Seeing Cyborg, becoming the anchor for the audience, that main character for the audience, I thought was great, and that was Zack Snyder's original intention. So, I loved it. 4 hours, awesome. It was broken down into like 1 hour chapters. You get to see Flash really be the Flash. Like all these characters, you get to see them shine and see them do what they're supposed to and be gods, among men. And it was an amazing experience. I saw it with my family. 4 hours. It was lengthy, but it was well worth it. I've seen it twice already. Might see it again sometime this year, just because it's so good. But yeah, that's my number five, Zack Snyder's Justice League. So now we going on to we cracked the top five. So my number four is No Time to Die, the James Bond film. Um, this is his last. This is Daniel Craig's last go at it. I've loved his run. He hasn't had, there were some missteps in the franchise. Obviously, Quantum of Solace, and I forgot the last one. The name of the last one, Spectre, I think it was. Yeah, Spectre, weren't that well received, especially Quantum of Solace, because it was being made during that infamous writer's strike. So if you kind of go back and watch the movie, there's really no story, period. And that's an unfortunate thing that happened to a lot of films and television shows during that time. So that one I kind of don't fault a lot of people. They were trying to do the best that they could at the time. But Spectre, I didn't think it was as bad as some people made it out to seem. I don't think it was as good as Casino Royale or Skyfall. But I thought they were good. So anyway, I'm just talking about the franchise at this point. But No Time to Die, I thought was great. It kept a lot of the the through line of the rest of the films connected to this one. I thought it was an amazing kind of conclusion for the character. Some people weren't a fan of the rendition and how it changed from the previous iterations like Pierce Brosnan and Sean Connery, but I like this version. It's believable to me, and I like I said earlier, Daniel Craig I think does no wrong. I loved him in the role. I loved the relationship he had with his co-star. I forgot her name, and the villain I thought was threatening. They closed out a lot of kind of storylines from previous movies, and I ultimately loved it. I thought it was great. A nice send off for Daniel Craig and the character. So that's my number four, No Time to Die. Now we're into the top three. Now my number three is Dune, and again now my top three would change depending on what day you ask me. But the day I made this list, this is how kind of the movies fell. So number three is Dune by Denis Villeneuve, and I'm sorry if I butchered his name. This movie, I know nothing about Dune. Didn't know anything about Dune. I just knew that it was a book, or it is a book. A movie came out maybe in the late 80s, early 90s, and they had some kind of a anthology show or something like that, in the 90s as well. Don't know anything. I know it's beloved, and that was it. Went into it, saw it, and my God, was I in love with that movie. In love. Like, all the actors, to have this director get so much out of every single actor that he had on screen is an amazing feat on its own. What's his name? Aquaman. I'm losing all their names now in my head, but Oscar Isaac, Timothy Chalamet, Zendaya for the short time that she was in the film, Timothy Chalamet's mom in the movie, forgot her name. She's from Mission Impossible. She was great. Aquaman, forgot his name. Jason Momoa, thank you. Jason Momoa, he was amazing. Like, everyone was amazing. And then I hear that this story is a very dense story, and it's very hard to tell in a live action, adaptation. But he managed, Denis Villeneuve managed to make it work and make it happen. I saw this movie and I could completely understand everything that was happening, and even the subtle details that were happening, off screen or in the background and stuff like that. I picked up on it, and I was able to kind of piece things together. And I can't wait for the second movie. I hope the second movie gets made, and I can't wait for the rest of this franchise, this series. I actually bought the book because I want to now read more about it, learn more about it, and then be able to enjoy the second part in a different way now that I've read the book. So that's my number three, Dune. Number two is Eternals. That's the third Marvel movie on the list, I believe. 1, 2, yeah, 3. That's the third Marvel movie on the list. And Eternals, I couldn't wait for that movie. When it was announced, I was like, okay, that's a strange kind of pick for a Marvel movie that they're doing. But I was like, I have faith. And this is probably the first MCU movie that I did not know much about the characters. I knew who they were. I know that they existed. I knew who the Eternals were. I knew their origins, but I didn't know much about the characters specifically. So I was interested, and I kind of went in blind because I've never been able to go in blind to an MCU movie or a comic book movie in general. And I was able to do that with this movie. And they got I forgot her name, but the reigning Best Picture award-winning director and to direct the movie. And it honestly ended up being a divisive film among critics. I think it's like at 48%, 52%. The general audience liked it at 78%, which 78% is most of the audience. You're only looking at like 22% people who didn't like it. But I love this movie. Love this movie. I found no issues with none of the decisions they made, none of the story beats, anything. I loved the questions that were asked, the philosophical questions that were asked and put in front of these characters and us as an audience. I love the dynamic between all the characters, having such a large ensemble cast and kind of giving them all time to breathe and see their what ticks and their idiosyncrasies and stuff like that. I thought was awesome. I can't wait to see what happens next in the sequel. I'm assuming that they're going to have a sequel, especially the way it was left. And it was I can't talk about Eternals enough. I thought it was amazing. I can't wait for it to hit streaming. I think it hits streaming next week, mid-January. And I'm going to, do a couple of rewatches of that. So that's my number 2. Now, my number 1, actually, I just noticed I didn't mention my honorable mentions. So let's do that before I mention my number 1. So, my first honorable mention is The Tomorrow War, which I think came out on Amazon Prime. It stars Chris Pratt with some aliens from the future, and they go back into the past to pick up people from the future and all that kind of stuff. I saw it and I was like, the trailer looks kind of, generic. But I was seeing some good signs of it on Twitter, so I was like, you know what, let me give it a go. And watched it, and it was entertaining. I feel like, there were some things I had issues with. The spoiler alert, the way his daughter kind of went out at the end of the movie and things like that. But I feel like this is a franchise, this is a world, a universe that could be fleshed out in a better way. So hopefully it has a sequel, and hopefully they rectify some of the things that they didn't do right for me personally in the first movie. But I thought it was interesting the way they were losing a battle against aliens in the future, so they had to come back to the past and pick up people that haven't died at that specific point in time, not to create paradoxes and things like that. So I thought that was pretty cool. So that's my first honorable mention. My second honorable mention is Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat, came out. We haven't had a live action Mortal Kombat movie since 96, 97, I think. I don't remember. And the first one is a cult classic. It isn't a very good movie, but everyone loves it anyway. It has a charm to it. Then the sequel came out, and it's probably one of the worst video game adapted movies in history, and probably one of the worst movies in history of any genre of any kind. Period. Kind of the franchise went dormant in the movie space, but then it came out and wasn't the best thing in the world. But I did like the fights. I did like the character designs. I liked the world that they build. Some of the characters fell flat to me, like the main character, I forgot his name, Cole or something like that. Like, why did you not just have Liu Kang be the main character? Just leave Liu Kang as the main character. The same way if you do a Street Fighter movie, you can have Ryu or Guile as the main character. Like, just leave it alone. Leave it alone. Why do you have to make up these made-up characters and then the made-up characters suck? But we got to see cool fight scenes. We see, Scorpion and Sub-Zero. Sub-Zero was extremely OP for whatever reason. We saw cool fatalities and things like that. So yeah, Mortal Kombat, my second honorable mention. Now we're done with honorable mentions, and let's before I say my number one movie of the year, I'm going to run down the list one more time. So number 10, Godzilla vs. Kong. Number 9, Black Widow. Number 8, Free Guy. Number 7, The Suicide Squad. Number 6, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Number 5, Zack Snyder's Justice League. Number 4, No Time to Die. Number 3, Dune. Number 2, Eternals. And number 1, Spider-Man No Way Home. And I mean, you guys saw me do a spoiler, not spoiler review about 2 weeks ago, I think. And there's not much I could say about this movie any more than what I did the last time. I think this movie is an experience, and I don't say that about many films. I feel like this is an experience, something that you have to go see in theaters and see it as many times as possible. And I'm gonna go into spoilers. So, matter of fact, I won't go into spoilers. I'll leave that for you for another video, which I've already made. But just the emotional weight that this movie has, the risk that the movie takes, the dedication to sticking to, what they wanted to do and it landing. They didn't, the director, the producer, MCU, Marvel, they didn't have to do what they did in that movie. And they did, and they did it right. And it was amazing. And anyone that watches that movie doesn't feel something when they watch it, I think they're dead inside, because it does something for anyone, anybody in any family, kids, brothers, sisters, whatever, parents, grandparents, anyone who watches this movie, should feel something. I think it's something that we're not gonna get often. I think this is something like the original Avengers movie. That was an experience. The first Avengers movie was an experience. The second one was awesome, but it's never gonna compare to the first. I feel like this movie is gonna be that going forward. Things that happen here might get replicated in other movies and other franchises, but I feel like this movie being the first to do something like that and being successful at it, I think it's we're gonna remember that the same way we remembered Avengers. So yeah, that's my number one, and that's my top 10 list. Now, before we go, I'm just gonna mention 3 dishonorable mentions that I thought you should know about and try to stay clear. So number 3, In the Heights. Holy crap! Do I love musicals? I did not like this musical. I thought half of the songs were probably lame and forgettable. I was so excited just for the representation of like Hispanics and Latinos and all that stuff on the big screen for the first time. And yeah, it was nice that we got to see a bunch of Spanish people, or Spanish speaking people on screen and stuff like that. But I honestly don't think they were represented as well as they should have. We Hispanics have a color palette, not to get, too political in this thing, but we have a color palette. And you didn't see many people on screen with melanin. It was just a bunch of light-skinned Spanish people. And I think that isn't an appropriate representation of the Spanish, Hispanic, Latino community or the community that is in the Heights. And also then having just different people play different. You had a Mexican play a Puerto Rican. You had a Puerto Rican play a Dominican, and all this and that. And it's like, why? You have people of this background that you could get to play these people. Like, why not do that? And whatever. But hey, I guess we can't complain too much because at least we got a movie with some Spanish people. But that's a nice step forward. But I do think that the next time they could do better. Because if you're gonna do something, do it right. All right, don't do it half-ass. So That's number three. Number three is In the Heights. Number two is Cruella. I saw this movie because my daughter wanted to see it, and I was like, you know what? I'll watch it with her. That movie sucked. There are some villains that you don't need an origin story, and if you're gonna give them an origin story, do not make them the hero. Do not make them sympathetic. Do not make people try to understand why they are how they are. Like the Joker. That person never needed an origin story. That person doesn't need to be the hero or sympathetic, and we need to, be like, oh, that's why he's a psychotic maniac that murders, thousands of people, yearly. And now we understand. No. And the same thing with Cruella. Like, in 101 Dalmatians, she murders animals, and then she tries to kill 101 Dalmatians so she could have a coat. And now we have this movie that makes her like this sympathetic character so we can understand why she is the way she is and blah blah blah. And it's like, no, she is psychotic. And then the same issue that I have with the Joker movie with Joaquin Phoenix. I don't see how that loser character gets to where he is in the end of the movie, and then how does that guy from the end of the movie become the Joker that we all know? I don't know. Same thing with Cruella. You have this loser character who goes through a bunch of stuff and then becomes this empowered, Cruella person. But then the movie ends, and how the hell does she get to this psycho that kills puppies? Like, what? And then some of the stuff was so contrived. As far as I saw, she was the villain in the movie, period. But there just happened to be a bigger, badder villain in the movie. I don't think she was ever a good person or whatever the case was. And no, that movie sucked. But anyway, then my number one is Venom: Let There Be Carnage. I didn't like the first one. I didn't want to see the second one, but the only reason I went to see it was because I heard that there was an end credit scene that would change the game. So I, paid $15 to go see an end credit scene, but I had to sit through the movie. And that movie sucked. Like, Carnage was horrible. Woody Harrelson playing him. Woody Harrelson is an amazing actor. I don't know what the hell they told him Carnage was and what script they gave him, but it was horrible. You had Shriek there, who, is a mutant, so, and they have this whole love relationship, and the only reason he's crazy is because he's trying to get back with her, and that's the only reason he's killing people, because he's trying to get to her, and they trying to keep them separated, and, oh, God. And that's not who he is. And then you have that whole relationship with Eddie and Venom. Never liked it in the first movie, never liked it in this movie. I thought it was, overplayed. Then they had to find a way to extend the movie, so they give a reason for Eddie and the Venom symbiote to kind of separate and not be with each other, and then come back with each other at the end. And the movie was bad. It was so bad. And I love Woody Harrelson. I love Tom Hardy. Tom Hardy is one of my favorite actors alive today, and I cannot stand him as Eddie Brock. I cannot stand him as Venom. No. Ugh. So yeah, those are my top 3 dishonorable mentions. So all right, guys, I've been talking for quite a long time. Hope you guys enjoy the video. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, share. Let me know what you guys want me to do videos of in the future. I'll take those into consideration. Really appreciate it. Actually, starting this week, I'm gonna be doing a new series called Revisited with my girlfriend. I'm editing the video now. We're gonna be revisiting the MCU, and I hope you guys check that out. I really appreciate it. She was a little nervous. Be sure to give her words of encouragement. I'll appreciate the support. As always, I'll talk to you guys soon. Be safe. Peace.